function. So we bracket those together. All right, and then the exceptions. That's with all the extra arrows. So what's one exception to this? Yeah.
4 can go to 2.
4 can go to 2. It's another one. All right.
I don't know if this is one you're looking for, but 1 can go to
Yeah,
anything.
that works. That's what it, but yeah. 1 can go anywhere. Joy?
7 can go to 5. 7
can go to 5. Yes. That one's not even in the book, but or at least in our little chart. But yes, I made a note of that on Wednesday. Good job.
3 can go to 4.
3 can go 4. 3 can skip 6 and go directly to 4. Couple more. Carter?
5 to 6.
5 can go back to 6. Deceptive progression.
4 can go to 1.
4 can go to 1. 4 is pretty versatile for it. So it's 5. And 1, of course. So, yeah, that's all of our, at least right now, our core progression. And as we talked about, it doesn't always have to start at 3, like your first chord, or your first chord doesn't always have to be 1 and then 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, and then back. It doesn't have to be the complete thing. It could just, you'll find pieces that are just 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 2, 5, or 4, 5, 1. Like, you know, small chunks of this is definitely suitable. As I mentioned also on Wednesday, 3 doesn't occur that much. It's okay to have it once in a while. Just don't like lean on the 3 chord as much. I mean, it's very common for like this style of music for like to go back to the 1, and not to bring the 3 into it at all. Maybe as a slight color change, but not. It's just not that common.
Yeah, the only way you can get to the 3 is from the 1 anyway.
From the 1 anyway, right? But then what a lot of students do is once they get to the 1, they're like, oh, I want to bring it back to the 3 like right away. And, yeah, it's not that common. All right. Minor key. Cool thing about minor key is once you have major key down, it's not that much different. The progression, circle of fifths progression is the same. Just gotta remember the qualities are different. So we got a diminished 2. We have a major, major 6, major 3. 7 functions the same way as in the major key with the 5 chord. 4 functions the same way as 2. So those get bracketed together. All of our exceptions are the same. 4 go 2, 5, 5, 6. So 4 to 1, 1 anywhere. 3 to 4. That was it. And then the only difference is what? With big difference. And
The book has a major 7.
the book has a major 7. So we have 7 functioning 2 different ways. That's why I like to put a little flat in front of it and the 7 being major, because we're using the lowered 7th scale degree to create that chord. So if I'm in the key of C minor, the key of C minor has 3 flats. And I get to scale degree 7, and I have a B flat, we'll go right down here, and then if I raise it, I have a B natural. So we're gonna now begin to start using that option of the lowered 7th chord, which creates a B flat major triad, B flat using our key signature, B flat D F, and then also are B diminished, which raises the seventh, so you get B natural, D, F, creating a diminished chord. But the two chords do not function the same. So in our chord chart, they need to be in different places. However, as we talked about in pop music, the seven actually can be used like a 5 chord. You can go to 1, but right now, where we're at in our style of music, we're not gonna be doing that. Does that make sense? Any questions so far about the, yes?
On the major chord progression, you said the diminished seventh can go to 5.
Yes.
So diminished seventh has the leading tone as part of the chord, but
Yes.
5 does not have the tonic. So does that only work in our style of music if the leading tone is in an inner voice? Because it can go somewhere other than the tonic.
Say that again?
Yeah, so in the, if I blow the seventh chord,
Yeah.
it's got a leading tone somewhere in there,
Yep.
right? If I then move to a 5,
Mm-hmm.
the 5 does not have the tonic in it,
Right.
right?
But it also has a leading tone.
So the leading tone would typically go from leading tone in the first chord to leading tone in the second?
Yeah.
Okay, so the idea that it has to resolve, at least in outer voices, to the tonic, it can't happen because the 5 chord doesn't.
Well,
have
we
the
didn't
tonic.
really, like if it's this, if you have static motion in a voice, you're not moving. So if it's a leading tone, it's staying where it is, even if the chord changes.
Okay.
You haven't moved, but when you do move, it needs to resolve up to time.
Okay.
So like if you're thinking like the soprano has a leading tone in the 7 chord, and then you go to a 5 chord, soprano has a leading tone, doesn't it need to, it's still on the leading tone, it's not gonna change. And the reason for the 7 sometimes going to the 5 is because the 5 to 1 is a stronger connection than 7 to 1. Because of that sol to do, wanting to go to up to that to do, then you also have the leading tone in there. So it creates kind of a stronger pull towards the tonic 1 than a 7, which I think also has a pretty strong pull because of the tritone in there, which wants to, like the lead tone wants to lead up, and the fa or scale degree 4 wants to lead down to mi. And all of that gets resolved in a 5/7 chord. If we're, say, in C major or C minor, doesn't matter, we build a chord off the scale degree 5, and we add the 7th to it, we have GBD, which is a 5 triad, but we also have BDF, which is a 7 triad. So dominant, a 7th chord built off of the dominant 7 combines both triads anyway, and so you get the best of both worlds. All right. Other questions about the chord progression? Okay, let's take a look at our homework then. I think section A was pretty straightforward. We did a little of that, like similar examples on Wednesday. Nobody seemed to have any problem. Are there any concerns, questions, anything we want to go over in section A 1 through 6? Everybody find at least 1 or 2 chords. I think one of them actually might have had 3. Can't remember which one that was. Yeah, actually, I think I know which one. Possibly 5. 3, but at least 2 for 5, right? Where can the 7 go to get to 6? At least 1, right? You can go home, go to 1, and then 1 can go anywhere, so it can go to 6. But what was the other? It's another one.
5.
Yeah, to the 5, right. So it could go to 5. Again, not marked in our book as one of the exceptions, but it is mentioned in the book. I don't know why they didn't actually add it to the chart itself. I don't know, anything else? Any questions about any of these? Would it be helpful to go over more, or can we? Yep. So if we have our 1 chord, Jaden, what chord then can get us, what chord can we insert between a 1 chord and a 2 chord to get to our 2 chord from our 1? 1 can go to where? Any of them. So as long as we get to the 2, right?
Yeah.
So what chords lead to 2?
Six.
6 can get you to 2, and then they're saying there's another one that can get you to 2.
Did you go from, oh, okay, what, no, 4.
4. 4 can bring it down to 2 as well. We're on our 4 chord and we want to get to 1. Here's 4. 4 could go directly to 1, but we want to insert another chord in between. So 4 can go to 5 and then 1. 4 could also go to 7 and then 1. All right. Anything else? Let's move on to the next section. Section B. Now we have a progression that most of it works, but there's going to be probably an error, or at least it says does not conform to our chord chart. That's probably a better way of saying it, because some of these progressions are not necessarily errors. You'll hear them, see them in music, but they're not what we're doing yet. You know, it's not what we're talking about. So, scale degree 1, can 1 go to 7? Yep, 1 go anywhere. 7 go back to 1. Alright, so far so good. 1 could go anywhere, so we'll do 4, would be fine. Can 4 go to 6? No. Alright, looking at my chart. No, 4 doesn't go backwards to 6. 4 can go forward, down. And that's it, alright. Can 6 go to 5? No, as well. 6 goes to 2, 6 can go to 4, but 6 doesn't get to jump and go to 5. 5 can go to 1 though, right? So again, the way I would probably mark that, as long as you mark it in some way that it's a 5 and 1 and so on. 4. Right? Yeah, 6. Alright. So you can do something like that, bracket it below, or it depends on whatever bracket means to you. You can bracket like this, that works as well. If you don't want to even deal with brackets, you just want to circle them, that's okay. As long as you show me where they are, will occur. Did anybody not find an error in one of them? Yeah, number 3, let's check it. So 1 can go anywhere, so 3 can go to 4, right? 3 can jump 6 and go to 4. 4 can go to 7. 7 can go to 1. 1 goes anywhere, so back to 4, which can go to 5, and then 1 there is a little bit of trickiness going from 4 to 7, and we're not gonna really use that progression right now. And the reason for that is because we haven't really talked about diminished triads. We will very soon, but the reason why we haven't talked about diminished triads, at least in our chord progressions, is because diminished triads are almost always gonna be used in first inversion and not in root position. And we've only talked about root position triads so far. So we get to the next chapter, we get to talk about first inversion triads. But so for now, we're gonna avoid using the 7th chord altogether when we write our own chord progressions. The other reason for that, if we say we're in bass clef, we're in the key of C, we're going to go from 4, scale degree 4 to 7. Scale degree 4 is F in the key of C, so we got F, A, C. Scale degree 7 is B, which is B, D, F. F down to B, or B up to F rather, is what type of a fifth? Diminished fifth. Diminished intervals are okay as long as you're resolved by step. So I guess going down to it really wouldn't be the most offensive thing to do, as long as you resolve up, which the leading tone wants to resolve up. But remember, we're also, we want to double the root in a root position triad, but we don't want to double the leading tone, which is why we usually have this in first inversion and not in root position. Other reasons too, but that's why. Now, if we go up to our B though, what's the inversion of a diminished fifth? Augmented fourth. So you wouldn't even be able to make that progression happen if the 4 was going up to the 7. So in either instance, it's kind of an awkward interval to have. So the way we get around it, we can use these 7th chords, but we have to use them in first inversion. And again, we just haven't talked about first inversion, so we're gonna say don't use 7th chords for the moment, for the time being, for like another week. And then we can start using 7th chords once we go over it. All right, the next section you had to analyze the music, chords, and then list any spots that don't conform to our chord progression chart. See if Bach makes any errors according to our rules here. Let's do a little bit of the analysis, just so we can get a little review on that. I mean, it should be pretty straightforward. I'm hoping no one had problems with it. I was hoping just to write it up here, but we have the extra lines. Do it the old fashioned. All right, so our first chord, Joey, what notes do you see in the first chord?
A, E, and C sharp.
A, E, and C sharp, another A there. So in the key of A major, I think we talked about that on Wednesday. We know that this is an A major. First chord is A, last chord is A. There are no accidentals. Gives me reason to believe that this is in the key of A. So in the key of A, you have a chord built off of A. That would be what Roman number? 1. First chord is our 1 chord. Jaden, next chord. What notes do you see here? D, F sharp, A, and so what note is the root of the chord? D. And what scale degree is D in the key of A? 4. And what type of chord is the 4 chord? Major, minor, diminished?
I had that information.
What's that?
Um,
Well, if you don't, what kind of chord is D, F sharp, A? You could do it that way too. If you don't, major, yeah. That's our major one, 4 chord. Isaiah, our next chord, what notes we have?
B, B, wait, wait, wait.
Yeah, B, D.
Yeah, B, oh, I said B, yeah, not a G. G.
Yeah, and it's a G sharp, and not a G. So, what's the root of this chord?
G.
Yeah. So, the chord is gonna look like this: G sharp, B, D. G sharp then is the root. What scale degree is G sharp in the key of A?
7.
7. So what type of triad is that? Diminished. So we have our diminished 7. Step 4 now, instead of the G sharp being in the bass, the B is in the bass. So it's not in root position, it's what? First inversion, which is indicated by what? Next to our Roman numeral, what do we put next to our Roman numeral?
6, 3.
6, 3, make it easier, 6. All right, good. Andrew, next chord,
A, E, A, and C sharp.
okay? What's the root?
A.
And what scale degree is A in the key of A?
1.
And what type of triad is it?
Major.
A. And it's in root position, because the A is in the bass. Amelia, next chord. What note, CC? What note, CC?
G, B, N.
B and another E. What's the root?
G.
So we got G, B, and E. Those aren't stacked thirds. So G is not, G won't be the root. What's the root?
Yeah, easily.
E's the root. Did you say?
I wrote it down, right,
Oh.
but I was looking at it and I was so confused, I was like, why did I write that?
All right, so
That's
E
it.
is the root, E, G sharp, B, there's our stacked thirds. What scale degree is E in the key of A?
It's 5.
And what type of triad?
No,
Major, minor,
major.
major, there you go. Major 5, and because the G sharp's in the bass, first inversion. There you go. Next chord, Matt.
I've got a F, F, A, and D.
Okay.
F sharp, F sharp.
F sharp, A, D. What's the root?
The root is D.
Okay, so you get D, F sharp, A. D is what scale degree?
4,
Okay, what type?
minor.
Not minor. It'd be minor if it was a minor key, but
Oh, yes, that's right. Major.
major.
Yeah, it's because I did the whole exercise thinking we were in A minor, so now I'm
Oh.
changing that.
All right, and then the F sharp is in the bass and not the D.
Right, so it's first inversion.
First inversion. Okay. Carter. Next chord.
Is it G, or G sharp,
G sharp.
E, B, D.
Okay. What's the root of this chord? B, G sharp,
It's E.
D, and then we put the E on the bottom. So we actually have 4 notes making a 7th chord. E, G sharp, B, D. What type of chord is that?
It's our 5 chord.
5 chord.
which is our dominant 7.
Dominant 7, which means major minor 7, right? So 5/7. But
it's in first inversion.
yes, it's in first inversion. So what do we change?
Isn't it 6/5?
Yeah. So we raise the 7. We don't want that 7 there at all. We want 6/5 instead. The most common type of 7th chord that we're gonna see is the dominant 7th chord. So the 7th chord built off the scale degree 5. So just get used to maybe seeing that. If you have to do any kind of analysis, maybe the 2 chord might be the second most common type of 7th chord in this style of music. Yeah, Carter.
Isn't it most common because it has the major 5 chord and the diminished 7th chord in it?
Yeah, it's what, it kind of came out of the fact that composers were doing this kind of a thing. Let me show it to you real quick. So they're going, say, 5/1 in the key of C, and you have your 5 chord, like so, and then you're going to 1, and you use, say we use similar motion method. So everything is gonna go down to the nearest chord tone. So composer wants to make a little smoother transition, say for the soprano, and so we're gonna go stepwise motion, like so. So we got a G, B, D chord going to a C, E, G chord. The F could be considered a non-chord tone because it's not G, B, D. Or it could be considered a 5/7. So it became very common for that type of sound to start happening. So does it stay a triad with a non-chord tone there, or does it become a 5/7? Both, as far as analyzing it, both could be kind of technically correct. Because really that's kind of like the most popular way to use it, or most common way to use it, at least during this time period. But that's kind of where it came out of. How that 5/7 started getting used a lot was usually when we go to 1 and then you would have that non-chord or conjunct motion happening in one of the voices, leading to the 7 and to the 3rd. So we'll get more information on that and when we get to 7th chords, which isn't for a while. All right, let's just do one more. The last one, we have A, E, A, C sharp. And in the key of A, that's gonna be back to our 1 chord. So, just out of this first half or so chord progression, are there any instances where Bach does not conform to our chord progression chart? Does 1 go to 4? Yes. Does 4 go to 7? Yes. And notice again, he used an inversion there and not root position 7 chords. Does 7 go to 1? Yep. 1 go to 5? 5 go to 4? No, not according to our chart. So that would be a spot where we would need to bracket. You have a question?
Yeah, I was about that.
Yeah.
I noticed that when he did that though, every voice moved by step. And I'm wondering, like, is that the reason? He's trying something else. He's doing that on purpose because of that. So I read that.
Yeah, that and the fact that they're in first inversion kind of hides the sound. It would almost be very similar to a 5 going to 6. Right? Our 5, what's the root of our 6 chord in the key of A? F sharp, right? And look at what the bass note is. It's not an F sharp minor chord, it's not a 6 chord, but it's a 4 chord. But it's the same note in the bass. So it's kind of a very, it's gonna be kind of a similar type of sound. In my mind, I think that's what's happening more, is that it's like, he's playing it off sort of like a 5 to 6 deceptive progression, but instead of going to the 6, he goes to the 4, but in the bass at least, it kind of has the sound of a deceptive progression because it's going to an F sharp, which is the root of our 6 chord. The fact that they're both first inversion means they're a little weaker sounding than root position, and that makes the function blurred sometimes too. Technically, they do function the same way, and it doesn't matter if they're inversions or not inversions, but sometimes the function, I guess, best way I can just say is just that it gets blurred. It's not as strong of a sonority. All right. I know I didn't quite answer your question. I'm not sure. It's like exactly. I have a. I mean, that's why it's music theory. I have a few theories on it. But yeah.
Maybe just vote.
No, well, I also think that 5 to 4 is also, it's a common progression as well, as we'll find out. There's other, rather than the 4 always going to 5, 5 go back 4. That's, it's part of the blues progression, a big part of that, ending of a blues progression. So Bach, they say Bach, if Bach were alive now, he would have been like a jazz player or a blues pianist, because he would have been improvising all the time. All right, other questions? Anything else? All right, everybody remember how to analyze chords again? It's been like, it's been a while since we've done anything like that. Okay. I'll take a look at the rest when you hand it in. About the exceptions, let's keep plugging away at chapter 7. Chapter 7 is one of my favorite chapters, because we can talk about chord progressions. Now with the minor progression, as we talked about, that 7 chord will lead to 3. It says that it's pretty quick.
Example 7:18.